People have often been fascinated and ruined by this idea of the white whale. This object, this thing that you obsess over to the point it becomes an addiction where you have to have it. Sometimes it can be used playfully, like in board gaming, you might have the white whale, which is the game you're trying to find in the wild to try to bring into your collection. In the world of the internet, it's kind of easy just to say, if I have enough money, I can basically get anything I want. When I first started doing this hobby, I had a couple of games and I was like, ooh, I wouldn't mind getting that. And a lot of those games have found their way into my collection. Right now, the only white whale that I'm chasing is a nice copy of Discworld that will not cost an arm, a leg, or an unborn child. And this idea of obsession and this idea that a game has to be a game to be a game, I feel like there's a double-edged sword to obsession. Spoiler alert. People can be obsessed with wanting a thing. People can also be obsessed with denying you that thing. I'm going to say 3 completely subjective statements about me personally. And I want to see if you might be the one who is obsessed or addicted to ripping the joy from another person. Thing number 1, I feel that Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is not only a good movie, it is one of the top 4 best Star Wars movies. And it holds up better than any of the other prequels. Subjective thing number 2. I think that there are a handful of Nickelback songs that are actually pretty catchy and fun to sing. And subjective thing number 3, I think that Moby Dick, or the card game, is one of the cornerstones of my gaming collection and deserves more praise than people may have given it. Which one of those set you off? Hope it's not the last one, because we got a lot to talk about as we look at Moby Dick or the card game. Moby Dick or the card game is a game based on Moby Dick or The Whale, the novel by Mr. Herman Melville. And it is a wonderful example of a game that is a game to be played and not a game to be won. What it has you doing is having you and a handful of people basically drawing cards to get crew, to go hunt whales, to finally get enough gusto together to go and take on the big white dick himself. He doesn't have a lot, a couple of dice, a couple of tokens, and 3 decks of cards. They are in the order of the Sailor, which will run you through the first part of the game, the Sea, that will run you through the second part of the game, and the Whale, or the Hunt, that will take you through the third part of the game. Now, all of these things that you're doing aren't very important because at the end of the day, the game is going to come down essentially to a die roll. That's it. You're going to be rolling 2 dice a couple of times to try to attack a whale and kill the whale. It's not really a lot to the game. There's a lot, at first you're going to be getting crew and betting on crew and trying to get them to join you. And then you're going to be playing chapter cards to go out and catch whales for more money. But then at the end, it's just going to come down to rolling a die as you go and try to attack Moby Dick and not have your boat destroyed. That's it. This is not necessarily a game of games. We're not brassing this up. We're not doing any of the other awesome games we played. But like I mentioned, this game is a cornerstone of my collection. We are going to be telling a handful of stories today. The first story that we're going to be telling is a story about why I feel that this game not only belongs in my collection, but also why I think that the box and why I keep the boxes for most of my games instead of packing them down. I'm going to tell you this story while I draw a picture of a whale as a Mexican wrestler. That sounds about right. All right, let's go. So a long time ago, I was going to a friend of mine's house and we would play games off and on a lot. We would play all kinds of small card games and they were really, really fun to play. But as you know, this hobby can be very heavy when it comes to lugging this shit back and forth. So I decided I have a bunch of card games that I'm taking over. The boxes are infinitely larger than the boxes need to be. So I'm just going to put all of my stuff in like a long Magic the Gathering style collectible card game box and just take that over and see if that would work. And as soon as I did that, I took it over, and the first thing that he mentioned was, you know, I feel like you're missing a lot by not having the box. Opening the box and looking at it is part of the experience. And I was like, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but then as we kind of went through the games, when you're looking for something to play, people need that immediate thing to latch onto, to really want to say, yeah, I'll go on this journey with you. Because when you're playing a game like Moby Dick or the card game, maybe not everyone at the table is really looking to play a game based on the great American novel. Maybe they want to have some swords and some shields, and selling them on Queequeg and the Peacock and old Call Me Ishmael might not be the easiest sell. But when you look at the box and you look at the vibe that it invokes and all of these things, you start to think, you know what? A game is more than the game that it's played. The box means something. And while not every company takes the box to mean something, it's mostly just an advertisement for the giant box itself, a box can be a part of the experience. And that's when I discovered that this box was a part of the experience. So I took all my games that I packed up in the boxes and I put them back in their original packaging, and I just dealt with the fact they were a little bit heavier than they needed to be, but it was worth it. Because the experience of the box and the experience of the game, and that we really enjoyed ourselves, it really said a lot to the type of game that it was, and it cemented the reason why it's in my collection, and it's really not ever gonna go anywhere. It imprinted itself on me, but not in the creepy Twilight way, but in the cool way that games can do sometimes. So games aren't necessarily good or bad, they're just games. Sometimes they don't even need to be games. Sometimes they can just be an interactive experience, which I feel is what Moby Dick is. Look at this guy. What are we going to call him? El Whalo? Is that racist? Now, obsession can be a dangerous thing. And the theme of the game is about a man. If I remember my Moby Dick correctly, Moby Dick ate a part of Captain Picard, and then he got angry and wanted to go kill the whale. I haven't really read the movie or watched the book, but I have seen the Thor movie in which he chases down Moby Dick with Spider-Man and they eat some people. That was really good. Heart of the Sea, that's what it was. But I can understand the allure of obsession. Obsession is really there to really kind of chase, not the dragon, but the whale. And all you're really trying to do is fill some sort of hole that's right where your self-esteem and self-worth used to be, because you think if you just get this one thing, you'll be whole. You might see this in modern day as something called FOMO, which the kids are saying, which is the fear of missing out. People have this obsession with wanting to be involved in everything. When the world is so connected, it's really hard to let go of the things you just can't be a part of. Something as small as a limited time offer or a sale on an eShop or the PlayStation Store or a Steam sale, to something as big as, oh, the McRib is back. I better get that McRib before I can't get that McRib. And of course, I don't mean to belittle anything like mental health or having an obsession or an addiction or anything like that. The difference is that the addiction is a chemical need that your body requires to function. An obsession is more of a mental one. But I feel like you really start to blur the lines the longer you get obsessed with something. Something that I'm obsessed with is trying to find that perfect, ideal version of a thing. So for example, when you watch a show like The Simpsons or Family Guy and they're drinking that cartoon beer, I'm obsessed with finding the beer that beer is supposed to taste like. That Pawtucket Ale, that Duff's beer, that kind of thing. I'm obsessed with trying to find that perfect flavor. Or with coffee, the way that coffee should taste. People spend a lot of time trying to focus and obsess on what things should be. They don't appreciate them for what they are. And that can be said about a ton of board games and video games that people just give shit to and pass by, because you're going to look at a game like Moby Dick or the card game and you're going to think, well, it starts as a game, but it doesn't end as a game. There's no satisfying conclusion. To which I say the satisfying conclusion comes with the fact that you've gone on this journey with your friends to try to do this thing. It's not a game about being won. It is a game about being played. Now, where have I talked about that before? And if people would stop focusing on reviews and the idea that I'm going to play this game so you don't have to. Gaming is a very communal experience. I play the game because I want you to play it with me. Even if we hate the game. I've talked about many times. What's the equation? 10% of what you play, 90% of who you play it with. And the types of people that can't see the enjoyment of a game like this maybe is missing the point of games to begin with. And I would love to play a game with them to really share in the experience, because even if you play a shitstorm like Crimson Creek or the Arkham game that was a social deduction nightmare, you don't focus on the game, you focus on the people. And Moby Dick is a game about the people and the people you play with. You're chasing that whale, you're chasing friendships. That was kind of lame. And you're chasing that high, that rush of satisfaction to a game. But if you know what you're getting into, if you know that, you know what, maybe I won't catch this whale, maybe I'll get the next one, it might let you appreciate the journey that you go on a little bit more. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do some housekeeping. It is for 2 to 4 players. Now, I could have sworn that this bitch was for 3 to 5. I only know that because I've only played it with 3 and 4. It's a really good game to just play with people, have a couple of beers, just play the game. It is for ages 14 and up, because who the fuck cares? And 1 to 2 hours. That's a little long. I feel like it's more like a 45-minute to an hour game. And this game company, King's Post, is a game company that's made this game and Beowulf. They make a lot of games about stuff. Well, they don't make games anymore, really, because they kind of went out of business, and I got this on the sale. This one's for 3 to 6 players. Maybe that's what I was confusing it with. It's heavy. Look at this. Look at this box, and look at this box. And tell me that even if you don't want to play a game about Beowulf or a game about Moby Dick, that there's not some type of vibe that you get from this that goes, you know what? What is that game about? What is that game about? Game themes are tricky. Sometimes you could be super vague, like, oh, we're doing general fantasy. Come get your swords, get your shields, your dungeons, and your dragons, but not at the same time, because that's copyrighted. Or we're like, oh, we're in Rome. Oh, we're in generic space. But every once in a while, someone will take an idea and get very specific. I'm really invested in the specific themes that really, really go above and beyond to be about a specific thing. Example, boom. Robinson Crusoe, Voyage of the Beagle is about fucking Darwin doing stuff. Now, the Robinson Crusoe, I do love that game. We haven't talked about that yet. But based on a book, based on a book, based on a story. Hot way, gargum in your dog, what way in your dogum? I don't remember how it was. I remember I had to memorize the whole first passage in high school English. So, what way, I don't know. Then I have my games like my Nemo's War. And that motherfucker made me read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It didn't make me, but I read it because I wanted to know. Moby Dick made me get interested in Moby Dick, so of course I went to the Wikipedia and read about that, and I watched Heart of the Sea, and I'm trying to understand why more companies don't take a chance with theme. I guess because when you do, you end up having to make 1 or 2 games and then close out because people don't appreciate what you do. I'm telling you, game companies, I appreciate what you do. And I would rather you take a chance on a bonkers theme, which is like this, or the one about the troubled life of Billy Kerr, or a game about making stained glass windows, or fucking trimmers, something specific than just generic nonsense. If every game company put the time, effort, attention, and love into crafting their theme the way that King Post did, there would be no more boring themes out there because it wouldn't just be pasted on, it would be incorporated into everything their game is. And it's a damn shame we have to live with so much copy and paste when it comes to themes these days. It's a small thing, but it's also the big thing. Taking the chance means a lot. And if it means me having to go outside to learn something so I can get your game, I'm talking to you, Fantasy Flight, Eldritch Horror, everything Lovecraft. I got into Lovecraft just so I could understand the references to the games. That's a big deal that I would go and read a book, one of those things back there, just to understand your game. You really want to see how this works? Let me show you how the idea of wanting to understand more about the theme of a game can turn into an obsession that might border on addiction. Relic. This was one of my white whales that I wanted because I played it once. I bought it for a friend a long time ago. I really liked it, and then I got into Warhammer a little bit, and not Chaos in the Old World, but I got into like Warhammer 40K, and I was like, man, I'd really love that game, but it kind of stopped being in print. And I got obsessed trying to find it. And then when I found it, I was like, oh, maybe I don't know this as much as I thought I did. And then this happened. Welcome to my 40K Black Library. All of these books, 40K, oh my God, all of them. I got a couple of regular Warhammer stuff down here and the Horus Heresy that I wanted to know. Because I wanted to know about the Horus Heresy, because that's another white whale that I have. Looking for that big coffin box. I know it's not a great game, but I don't care. Wait a minute. Oh, you think that's it? You think that's all there is? No. I got more up here. What's up, Al? What's up, Doflamingo? This is what happens whenever something gets in my head and I'm like, you know what? I want to learn more about that. Let's see if I can do that. When I want to learn more about something, I get obsessed. You're looking at the guy who got into One Piece and read every chapter in the span of maybe 4 months. Once I get something in my head, I want to continue it. I want to get all of the things. Everything can be Pokemon if you try hard enough. When you play a game about obsession, which is part of a hobby that you are already obsessed with, not board games in particular, but just games in general, I've had a pretty healthy obsession. Look at the multitude of unplayed games that I might have, not only behind me, but on my PlayStation or on my Switch. You can get addicted to that feeling of adding something to your collection and it being a part of you. And you start to understand maybe Captain Ahab, with the exception of, I think he died maybe, spoiler alert for a 200-year-old book or 100-year-old book. When did this come out? Let me do some quick. Where 1 minus 2020. 169 years ago. And obsession is never a good thing. If you use it for good and not for evil, it might be something better than having it ruin your life. And I think the obsession that led to this small game company really making a game that this video series is not about me finding the 100 best games, not by a long shot. This is a series about me having 100 games in my collection that define my collection. And if there were 4 legs that held up my collection, this one would be one of them. I have games that might be holding up this leg also, like let's say Beowulf is under there holding up this leg, probably because it's a little short. But this is one of those cornerstone games. This, along with Ctso, holds up my collection. Now, this is not a perfect game, because I will be one of the first to admit it's barely a game at all. It's more of an experience, an interactive journey that you go on with your friends to do something a little different, to activate a different part of your brain, to think, I wonder what that's referencing. I wonder what that's referencing. Am I playing this game correctly? Yes, I am. Because if you're having fun, you're playing any game correctly. It doesn't even matter. Even if you're playing it incorrectly, if you're having it fun, you're playing it correctly. You heard it here first. So it's a cornerstone. So of course it's in my Hard 100. That's not what this is about. If you can find a copy of Moby Dick or the card game, I recommend you give it a go. Find a couple of friends, have a couple of spirits, is what it says in here, and just enjoy your friends, enjoy the experience that having games and playing games can buy. This is not a beer and pretzels game. This is a, hey guys, you want to try something different? Sure. Didn't really talk about how to play the game. This will also answer the age-old question. If I can make a video about a game without actually showing you and telling you how the game is played. I told you, 3 decks, you buy some crew, you flip over some cards, you do what the cards say, you roll some dice, maybe you win, maybe you lose. That's it. This game is 7-something years old, and I feel that it's a game that if you were gonna play it, you would have played it by now. But that's not fair. 2013, this game is 7 years old. I have enjoyed my time with it. The rules are easily laid out. There are a bunch of videos online. There are people online that give it shit, and to them, I will simply read from the front of the rule book. And I quote. And I might do this in a pirate accent. It might drift in and out of some Italian kind of thing. Just go with it. You've shipped, have you? Names down on the papers? Well, what's signed is signed. And what's to be, will be. And then again, perhaps it won't be, after all. Anyhow, it's all fixed and arranged already. And some sailors on the others must go with them, I suppose. As well these as any other men. God pity them. God pity them all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this, the latest episode of the Hard 100. I hope you learned a little bit about me, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Moby Dick. It's also the cornerstone of my collection because this whole series is just a dick joke. And I can't have a dick joke without the biggest, whitest dick of them all. Did I already make that joke this time? I don't even know. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you and yours are well. Wear a mask, wash your hands. Call me Ishmael. Peace out.